Hey guys, welcome. In today's class, we're going to look at the introduction to bearing and distance. Let's quickly look at what we have in the content. Today, I'll give you the definition of bearing and distance. I will explain some things to you. I'll give you an exercise. And lastly, we will look at what we've done for today. Alright, now let's move on. Now let's see what defines bearing and distance. So we are told here that degrees are used to measure directions or bearings. There are two major ways of measuring the bearing of an object from a particular point, which may be called a reference point to another point. I want us to look at some important factors of bearing and distance. So degrees here is an important factor when it comes to bearing and distance. And then we use these degrees to measure directions or bearings. And then we are told here that we have two major ways of measuring the bearing of an object. Okay, so we have object here as an important factor also. So we have a point as another important factor, which may be called a reference point in quote to another point. Okay, now the two major ways of measuring the bearing of an object is by using the cardinal directions, which is the north, south, east, and west, or the 3-digit system. So when we move further, you understand better of how to measure the bearing of an object from a particular point. Let's continue. Okay, earlier we said one of the ways of measuring bearing is by using 4 cardinal points. So we are told here that in this system, bearings are measured from the north or from the south, not from the east or west. Okay, so we are told here that bearing can be measured from the north and south, meaning it is possible for us to have northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. But it is not possible for us to have west north, west south, east north, and east south. Okay, so in bearing this is correct, while this is not correct. Alright, let's continue. So we have, okay, now in the figure, north 45 degrees east means standing at a point O, facing due north, then turning through 45 degrees towards east, thus facing a point P. Okay, so this is explanatory. For instance, if we have a point here, point called O, and then if we have a line here facing a point P, we have a 45 degrees here. So in bearing, this can be interpreted as north 45 degrees east, facing a point P. Okay. Okay, let's continue. So the second way of measuring bearing is a 3-digit system. In this system, angles are measured from the north in clockwise directions. If we want to measure the bearing of an object, first face the north and then turn clockwise for convenience. 3 figures are always given in this system, e.g. the bearing due east bears 90 degrees, south 180 degrees, and west 270 degrees. So for this system, we are told that we are moving in a clockwise direction. So we are moving, our first movement will be 90 degrees. So from north to east, we have 0, 90 degrees. For this cardinal point, we are moving 180 degrees. So we are moving from north in a clockwise direction to south at 180 degrees. Meanwhile, for this point, we are moving in a clockwise direction from north to west at 270 degrees. And lastly, for this cardinal point, we are moving a 360 degrees in a clockwise direction from north and back to north. So we have here 360 degrees. So this is what the 3-digit system implies. We are going to be moving in a clockwise direction, and then our values will be represented in 3-digit format. So for 90, we have 0, 90 degrees. So we should note in this 3-digit system that in bearing less than 100 degrees, we use 0 at the beginning. E.g., for 45 degrees, 63 degrees may be written as 045 degrees, 063 degrees. So this is the reason why we wrote 090 degrees in our first cardinal point. So in the 3-digit system, there is a 0 at the beginning of our degrees. And finally, what we did today was that I gave you the definition for bearing and distance, and then explain some things to you. Thank you for watching this video. In our next video, we will solve an exercise under bearing and distance. See you there.